Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television, the Social Democratic Front Party refuses to accept government's version on the May 25th massacre in Santa subdivision, Mezam Northwest region of Cameroon. Nijon Frudi says that it was a planned act. We tell you more in this edition of the news. Also ahead, some Bamenda residents say that there is no inclusive dialogue as far as the socio-political crisis rocking the Northwest and the Southwest regions of the country is concerned, without the inclusion of Cameroonians in the diaspora and the release of all those that have been arrested in connection with the socio-political crisis rocking the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. And in the second part of this newscast, KAH WALLA, the president of the Cameroon People's Party, is going to be preaching peace, saying that all those involved in violence should drop their weapons. She tells us why. That's going to be in the second part of this newscast. Those are headlines. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television. The government has not yet told the entire truth regarding the Menka massacre that took place in Santa subdivision, Mezam division, Northwest region of the country, says the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, Nijon Frudi. The chairman of the SDF, in a meeting with the press that was in Bamenda, Northwest region of Cameroon yesterday, challenged the government to present the weapons seized from some of the alleged Ambazonian leaders that are said to have been arrested by security forces in the course of the gun battle that took place on the 25th of May 2018. Nijon Frudi told the press in Bamenda that killing 27 youths in Santa subdivision that left many across the national territory and out of Cameroon in shock was a planned act by the Biya regime, who would have to answer to crimes against humanity. Let's have the details in the following report. The chairman of the Social Democratic Front, who traveled to Menka 24 hours after the killing of 27 suspected terrorists, has categorically maintained that the truth behind what is now referred to as the Pinyin massacre is yet to be told. Nijon Frudi cited series of reasons justifying what he called concocted stories of the communication and defense ministries in the country. First, the SDF chair questioned why no administrator, not even the governor of the Northwest region, has so far visited the site for findings.
They said the DO of Santa has not been to the scene of incident. The SDO has not been there to see for himself what happened. So when you see all these things, and Isaac Chiroma said he got where the army told him. The army will tell you what they want to tell you. But what is it that he recorded from the floor, from the people involved? So these are the things that make me feel that this thing was a government plan. One, everybody was killed. Those that survived and were taken to hospital were taken out of hospital and still shot dead, with innocent people who were not involved. They only wanted to help a bleeding person. And young abducted girls were killed. The young boys that they abducted from the village, gave them beef to eat and this and that, were all killed. It was a manslaughter. And with all this, I think that Mr. Biya, in the not long distant future, will be charged on crimes against humanity. Because I do believe that.
Nijon Frudi equally said that eliminating all the suspects is proof that the government wanted to erase every possibilities to uncover the untold stories behind the May 25th massacre in the Northwest region of Cameroon.
Why do I say this? That there's suspicion, heavy suspicion, onto what happened. One of the boys that was wounded on the mouth and the nose was bleeding profusely. They took him to the hospital in Akum, and he was on drip. Members of the armed forces came, removed this drip, took this gentleman with his two brothers who brought him there, went back to Pinyin, shot them, killed them, and abandoned their corpses there. They were erasing this. What were they hiding? There's something that we're hiding. Because authentic information reaching me indicated that
Nijan Fundi also wants the names of the free escapee Ambazonians published, the presentation of confiscated weapons, and the hostages reportedly captured by the alleged terrorists.
The hostages, they said they freed, to give us a picture to see them. The guns and the ammunition, they said they seized, for us to see all these things. But it is ridiculous and puts one in doubt that members of the armed forces killed everybody who was within that premises, excepting the agents that they are sent in who ran away, that they said they were the leaders. Let's look at it this way.
According to Nijan Fundi, killing all the youths was a manner of concealing the truth and aggravating the already complicated socio-political tension that has been rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon for close to 2 years now.
A girl, a leader, ran with 2 boys. When we were shooting everybody in this, how did these people run? Which channel did they take? And how did the members of the armed forces knew that those people running were the leaders? Was there something on their body to show that they were leaders? So that's why I'm saying that there's so much doubt casted around the whole scene, that we think that it was a man-made sin for innocent people to be butchered, to be mowed down the way they did.
The chairman of the principal opposition political party in Cameroon, Nijan Fundi, there responding to the press conference of Issa Shuma Bakari in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, that was barely a few days ago. Now, the much talked about inclusive dialogue must constitute English-speaking Cameroonians in the diaspora, ceasefire on both camps, especially the military and the separatists. Those were the recommendations voiced out by some inhabitants of Bamenda, northwest region of the country, as the Bilingualism Commission began the first session of the Listen to People mission in the city. The people said that amnesty must be granted to all Anglophones arrested in connection with the current socio-political crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. The session, which opened today at the multipurpose hall at PCC in Tamulong, Bamenda, was attended by traditional rulers, political leaders, actors of the civil society. An economic operator in Bamenda, Ngufo Peter, urged the government to avoid use of force and tender a sincere apology to aggrieved Anglophone population and release all that have so far been arrested. The president of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, Peter Mafani Musonge, told the people to feel free, talk without fear of being arrested. He said that he expects the people to propose solutions that would be able to address the current socio-political crisis in the 2 Anglophone regions of Cameroon. We, of course, will be coming back to that meeting that took place in Bamenda today in a subsequent newscast. Meantime, as the Anglophone crisis escalates, the Catholic Church and the church in general in the country have continued to intensify prayers for peace and unity to return in the northwest and the southwest regions. A case in point is a special mass that was organized in Mombo subdivision in Mongo, littoral region of the country, where the Archbishop urged each and every one to strive towards restoring peace across the national territory. Innocent as it tells us more in this report.
The Anglophone crisis is getting more sour each day, threatening the peace, unity and stability of the Republic of Cameroon. The Roman Catholic Church in Cameroon has not gone dormant on the socio-political impasse as the Catholic family continue praying for the return of stability, peace and unity.
La maison sera maison de prière pour toutes les nations.
A case in point is the Catholic community in Mumbo subdivision in the Mongo littoral region that organized a special mass with the Archbishop, His Lordship Dieudonné Espoir Atangana, stressing on oneness in his humility.
Cessons de nous faire violence entre nous. Cessons de nous entretuer.
Archbishop Atangana also stressed that the crisis is each and everyone's cross and they must contribute to its resolution.
Plein de chrétiens là-dedans.
Reverend Father Michel asks that everyone must work towards bringing back peace.
Nous pensons que personne ne devra dormir sous ses lauriers sous prétexte qu'il n'en est pas concerné.
According to a Christian, Cameroon can never be separated by whosoever.
Cameroun reste indivisible. Vous savez, Jésus avait déjà démontré.
Another preached the gospel of no one can put asunder what God has joined together.
Notre pays, le Cameroun, est béni par Dieu.
Bishop Jodone Espoir Atangana has assured the Christian community will keep working alongside administrative authorities and security forces in the Mongo division to maintain calm and enhance the protection of students from the English-speaking regions who travel to the Mongo to write their end-of-year examinations.
Innocent, as the reporting now, we take you to the southwest region of the country where educationists have admitted that the programs in the English subsystem of education need to reforms. Stakeholders in the Boya Catholic University are striving towards attaining that goal, as Darijato tells us in the following report.
As the academic year comes to an end, authorities of learning institutions are also counting the damages caused by the Anglophone crisis in Anglophone Cameroon. Some schools in the southwest region have long closed even before the close of this academic calendar.
All of them are, so they've lost of hope, they've crashed, we are all crashed.
And the tremor brought by the Anglophone crisis, which has completely collapsed some of the learning institutions in the region, should be a lesson for the Cameroon academic system to be reshaped.
I think the crisis has taught us that the educational system that we have in Cameroon needs to be revamped. It's too certificate oriented. So when the crisis came, students went home, they could not do other things. So we have trained Cameroonians to be like those in a rat in a hole, in a box. So once that box is closed, everything closes.
To Father George Keze, president of the Catholic University Institute of Boya, strategies have already been mapped out on how his institution can still be functional even during crisis.
Well, I'm putting up a new project to the Board of Trustees, which will be presented on the 5th of June, called the New Strategic Outlook for CIB. Because of this crisis, which I say that's good news, because it has helped us to look at the weaknesses of our system and see how to design a system where students can still learn even when they don't come to school.
Visiting CUIB in his capacity as the Chancellor of the institution for a confirmation mass, Bishop Emmanuel Bushu of the Boya Diocese appreciated those who are still around during this trying moment.
I was just saying that we're very grateful that we are able to stay on till now. The times have been hard, very, very hard in some quarters, very hard, even in this town, very hard. But that we are able to stay on, I think it's a very big blessing.
A gold medal won during the 2018 University Games in Marwa was also presented to the bishop.
And 2 houses have been reduced to ashes at the Makepe neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision. It follows a fire disaster that occurred few hours ago. Enormous material damage has been recorded. Up to now, the cause of the inferno is unknown. Franklin Mwabe tells us more in this report.
All what is left are the debris of the massive fire which broke out yesterday night in the Makepe neighborhood of Douala. The fire, which started at about 11 p.m. woke up the entire Makepe neighborhood as they were struggling to no avail to put out the raging fire, which succeeded to burn down 2 plank structures to ash. According to report, the fire was ignited by a 9-year-old child who lit a candle and forgot to turn it off that night. The victims of the fire report that the said child has been warned on several occasions about lighting candles.
The fire was ignited by a candle lit by a child. The child has been warned on several occasions concerning lighting candles.
The both houses were consumed by the severe fire and not even a pin was successfully removed during the incident.
I did not succeed to take out anything from the house during the fire. All that I have is my underwear.
This incident adds to the recent many fire outbreaks in the country, which has ravished many homes, leaving many homeless with nothing. These fire outbreaks leaves the people with a question as to what is the role of the firefighting service in the country.
And what has become of the alleged assassination of His Lordship of the Bafia Diocese, whose death left many in Cameroon and out of the country in shock? Jean-Marie Benoit Balla died exactly 1 year ago, and findings that were opened have so far not had any result. A year gone down memory lane after the tragic incident that hit the Roman Catholic Church in Cameroon, the death of Bishop Jean-Marie Benoit Balla came like the last stroke on the camel's back, and Catholic bishops as well as other prelates were speaking out with very strong terms. According to some Catholic bishop, he was brutally assassinated, but to the Attorney General at the Center Court of Appeal, he probably died after drowning. Let us come back to the happenings from when he was announced missing to when his mortal remains were found in the water, in the following report with Babla Jonathan.
30th May 2017 night, breaking 31st, Jean-Marie Benoit Balla, Bishop of the Bafia Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church, disappears from public view in unclear circumstances. His vehicle is later found on the Ebebda Bridge over River Sanaga in the central region of Cameroon. In the vehicle, his personal documents are found alongside a piece of paper on which it is written, "I am inside the water."
L'un de mes agents m'a appelé.
One of my agents called me and said the vehicle of the Bishop of Bafia is stationed on the bridge. So I immediately went to the scene and I saw the vehicle and the personal documents of the bishop, his national identity card, his driver's license, car documents, and a paper on which is written, "I am inside the water."
Et n'est-ce pas un papier en tête. Sur ce papier-là, une seule phrase. Je suis dans l'eau.
Je suis dans l'eau.
I am inside the water. The source of the message is not known. Who wrote it? Is he the one or not? We have to shed light on these questions to know what actually happened.
Qui peuvent nous éclairer sur ce qui s'est réellement passé?
The news went viral on media, while some of his colleagues could still remember the last time they met with Jean-Marie Benoit Balla.
Nous nous sommes rencontrés la semaine passée.
We met last week during the burial of one of our colleagues, the rector of the minor seminary. Just like all of us, he was looking depressed by the death of the rector. He is always like that, but this time he was more depressed than usual.
Mais cette fois-là, j'ai quand même remarqué qu'il était très abattu. Lors de notre dernière rencontre,
last April, he was very normal. He and other bishops of the Yaoundé Ecclesiastical Province were preparing for their meeting in his diocese. There was nothing abnormal in his attitudes.
À aller se rencontrer, à faire organiser leur rencontre chez lui. Mais on ne sentait rien d'anormal dans son attitude.
L'alerte donnée.
After his disappearance, a search operation begins. Day 1, Thursday, 1st June 2017, was fruitless. His collaborators and Christians of the Bafia Diocese are deeply troubled.
Ça nous fait mal, puisque c'était notre évêque de Bafia.
Moi, ça m'a fait mal. Ça m'a fait mal pour sa disparition.
Information and pictures begin circulating on social media saying his lifeless body has been extracted from the Sanaga River.
Nous sommes en train d'assister à une circulation d'images sur les réseaux sociaux.
But this information is dismissed as false by rescue soldiers.
L'évêque n'est pas encore sorti de l'eau s'il est dans cette eau.
Day 2, June 2nd, 2017. The search operation continues to no avail. The corpse is finally found by fishermen in the Sandaga River in Sang village, kilometers away from Ebebda. He was wearing his official robe, a black trouser and black slippers. The corpse was in a good state. It was not decomposing.
Il semblerait que ce monsieur a été plongé dans l'eau.
It seems he was thrown into the river because it is not possible to get drowned with shoes without struggling to survive.
Se battre. On sent qu'il a été maintenu et puis on le poussait bord.
The lifeless body of the bishop is received by administrative, political, religious and traditional authorities. It is then transported to Yaoundé for investigations. Meeting in an extraordinary session in Yaoundé, 13 June 2017, the bishops declared in a release that their colleague was brutally assassinated. Few days later, a televised declaration is made confirming the stance of the National Episcopal Conference.
Bishops of Cameroon affirm that His Lordship Jean-Marie Benoit Balla did not commit suicide. He was brutally assassinated.
Several days later, after autopsies carried out by international medical experts, the Attorney General at the Central Court of Appeal issues a release which says the bishop died probably after drowning in the Sandaga River. This is rejected by the bishops. It is not time to publish it. We have our facts. If we affirm something, we, bishops, are responsible. What we are saying is the truth. We are persuaded. We want the truth to be established so that other crimes should not be committed. The attorney talks of drowning. What kind of drowning? You can get drowned by yourself or be forced to drown by someone else. We are convinced that the man of God did not commit suicide. He was killed. Relatives of Bishop Jean-Marie Benoit Balla also reject the statement of the Central Court of Appeal Attorney General.
En convoquant de soi-disant spécialistes étrangers,
his brother Jean-Paul says John did not commit suicide.
John ne s'est pas suicidé.
Information began spreading, suggesting that the angry bishops are refusing to receive the corpse of their colleague and that the hierarchy of the Roman Catholic Church was mounting pressure on the Cameroon government concerning the matter. The information is dismissed as fake by the Apostolic Administrator of the Bafia Diocese, His Lordship Abraham Kome, and the President of the National Episcopal Conference, His Lordship Samuel Kleda. It is false. The administrator is organizing himself in line with the release that we issued. The corpse has to be officially handed over to us, and we will receive it after identification. We have been contacted, and the reception and the necessary document is with us now. We have to go and identify the corpse, and once that is done, we will proceed to the next stage. But not because the Vatican asks us to do that. The Vatican has not.
Ne l'a pas demandé, c'est la vérité et il faut le dire.
Mais un jour nous le ferons.
One day we will do that. When everything will be clear, we will do that. We are thinking about it, and we will do all what it requires to receive the corpse.
Nous allons récupérer le corps après l'avoir identifié.
17 July 2017, the mortuary of the Yaoundé General Hospital welcomes church, administrative, political, traditional and legal authorities. Some abnormal happenings compels some bishops to move away and the bailiff of the National Episcopal Conference is asked to leave.
The Parquet General have said that they cannot allow me, they cannot permit me to do a report because it's a technical work, the appellage of the police and the gendarmerie.
The corpse is finally received by the bishops ahead of burial. At the burial early August 2017, the bishops continued rejecting the findings of government, demanding for the truth to be unveiled.
Nous continuons donc de demander que la vérité sur l'assassinat.
We continue asking that the truth concerning the assassination of Jean-Marie Benoit Balla should be revealed, and we still believe that we are in a law-abiding country and the lives of men have to be protected and respected.
Et que la vie de tout homme doit y être protégée et respectée. De toute personne.
We are inviting all those who think they can help to shed light on the death of Jean-Marie Benoit Balla to contact competent authorities.
Fasse sa déposition auprès des autorités compétentes.
The bishops are also decrying obstructions to the process of justice in the affair.
Nous dénonçons tout ce qui, dans l'ombre, obstrue les pistes des enquêtes.
We denounce all those working in the dark to obstruct investigations concerning our brother's case, putting pressure on all those in charge of the affair, like medical doctors, lawyers, and judges. 1 year after, the truth is still awaited from government.
Happenings before and after the death of His Lordship Jean-Marie Benoit Balla, the situation or the sudden death of the prelate that left many in Cameroon and out of the country in shock and consternation. And briefly, we talk sports. The football family of the littoral region led by the governor, Samuel Dedoneva Dubois, visited some sports infrastructures, some of those sites that are going to be hosting the 2019 AFCON Games in the country. They visited the Japuma Stadium and also other stadia like that of Bona Musadi and Tambapelepe. It is happening just few days to the arrival of the third CAF fact-finding mission to the country. And just to note briefly as well that Jean-Pierre B.T.B. Sam has been appointed Cameroonian ambassador to Israel. It should be noted that he was former Minister of Post and Telecommunications in the country. That brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Up next is Talking Points. Stay with us. Good evening to you once again, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We have been joined by the National President of the Cameroon People's Party, Edith KAH WALLA. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening. A pleasure to be here. Good evening to all the listeners of Equinox.
I said earlier in this newscast that we are going to be talking about your most recent outing. That you mentioned that we must continue. These are your declarations. This fight, we must continue this fight for the Anglophone right, for the Anglophone population, but we must do so without violence. You equally said that we must put down the weapons. The fight is right, but violence is not right.
Yes.
When you are talking about we, what are you referring to, or who are you referring to here?
Thank you. I'm referring to all of us as Cameroonians. I am referring to, we are many who have been in this fight from different angles. All of us who believe that every single Cameroonian has a right to be a first-class citizen in this country. So we have been on the forefront. At a certain point in time, and we must remind, this fight started out non-violent in November 2016. It was a non-violent fight with the lawyers and the teachers. Where did the violence come from? The violence came from government. The government was brutal with people who were demonstrating non-violently. The government arrested people who were non-violent actors just protesting for their rights. And the worst that led us to where we are now was the shooting of the population on September 22nd and October 1st. That is what made some people feel like we cannot take it anymore and we have to pick up arms. And they claim that they are doing this in self-defense. But why have we made this statement? Because after a number of months, what have we seen? We are faced with a repressive government. They are going to be brutal. The fact that those who are for separation have taken up arms seems to have given them a license to increase their brutality. Before the separatists took up arms, we did not see burning of villages. We did not have displaced persons. We did not have refugees. All of this has happened since October of last year, when the fight also became violent on the other side. So when we say put down weapons, we are not saying put down weapons to capitulate to government, not at all. We cannot give up this fight. But we are saying that the violence has only had for effect to increase the violence of the government. And our people today are suffering. The displaced people, you know, we have been to the Northwest and the Southwest several times. We have, you know, been in touch even with the refugees. I think you have visited the refugees. And we realize that the common man is the one paying the price. Therefore, that is what led to this statement that we should continue the fight. Continue the fight, but they should not do so without violence.
The weapons, without violence. You said that before the pro-independence fighters, or what many call the separatists, took up arms, we're not seeing the burning of houses. We're not seeing, but we saw killings on the part of security forces. We saw thousands escaping to neighboring Nigeria. We saw many homeless. We saw a lot of atrocities being committed by security forces because non-governmental organizations have spoken, like the REDAC, the CPP has equally been speaking, and other opposition political parties. So what makes you think that dropping arms is the solution at this point in time?
It is not the solution. It is not the solution. It is going to lessen the suffering of the people. Once again, make no mistake, this is a repressive government. And recently we took women from the other regions to the Northwest region. When the women from the West, we had some older women from the West, when they got to the Northwest region, they collapsed in tears because they said, we went through the 1960s, we went through the independence period, and this is exactly the same thing that is happening. So we must understand that this government is repressive from time, has always been repressive against people who stand up for their rights. So we are saying that, but when we look at the violence, before the separatists took up arms, government killed a few people, they arrested people, but it has increased. But it has increased. And on top of that, now we have all of this burning of villages, displaced people, children who are just lost, sleeping in the bushes.
Now, so if I understand you, if I accept I'm misunderstanding you, you're calling for the separatists to drop their arms.
Yes.
What about these security forces?
I am calling
that you have said that they are equally committing a lot of atrocities.
They are repressive, and we have been talking to them for the last.
Pro-independence fighters will tell you they are doing that in self-defense.
Of course. So that is
what
why
is the guarantee that dropping their arms is going to safeguard their well-being, their security?
It will reduce the violence on the population. But we have said continue the fight. And we want to say this as Stand Up for Cameroon. You know, we have a movement called Fridays in Black. We have intensified it. Tomorrow's Friday in Black is dedicated to all those who have lost their lives for the last 2 years. And we are saying we need to intensify this kind of action. And we need to take the fight to Yaoundé. We have been fighting in the Anglophone regions. The people in those regions are paying the price. we must march on Yaoundé. Some of us have already started. We have to intensify those actions. We have to intensify those sit-ins. That is what will push the government, because people ask me, why don't you ask the government to drop their weapons? We've been asking the government to stop violence from day one. On the 8th of December, when the first child was killed, I went to Bamenda within 24 hours and we asked the government to stop the violence. This government is a repressive government. They will not stop unless we as a population come out in our numbers to impose
but you're
upon
one of
them.
those who, when the CPP comes out,
yes,
you're either being tear gassed or arrested and placed behind bars. Some of you are
Yes.
armless.
Yes.
You don't hold any weapons. So
and
what do you mean by coming out?
That is exactly what we mean. And when we come out, it is not just the CPP to come out. It is every Cameroonian who wants this to stop. We cannot sit behind our computers and our phones and say, I want this to stop. No, it is time to come out in our mass.
That is the strategy that the CPP political party is proposing. Now, another problem is the sense of belonging. Do you have the impression that those that are now refugees in neighboring Nigeria, internally displaced, many people were in Manfi and now in Bamenda, you visited some of those refugee camps, will be able to pick up these broken pieces and come together as one, because you are also preaching a dialogue?
Yes, and that is why, you know, for the CPP, dialogue is not with the BR regime. This regime, we have nothing to dialogue with them, and that is why we are talking about political transition. If we are rid of this regime, and that can only happen if Cameroonians stand up, then we sit down for dialogue and we start to repair the wounds. We start to talk to those people who have suffered so much. I don't think that the person who shot your son can come and talk to you about dialogue. It is only after we have put that person out of
You're talking about political transition.
Political transition, out of the way, then Cameroonians can talk to each other. So that is what we are saying. But with violence, there is no end. There is no end. We are increasing and increasing the suffering on the people.
Now, the Bilingualism Commission, before we go, is in Bamenda now on one-on-one, talking with some residents in Bamenda as far as the crisis is concerned. Do you see something coming positive from the discussion between actors of the civil society, politicians, traditional rulers, and the Bilingualism Commission members?
It is unfortunate. I think there are some well-meaning members of that commission. I met with several of them. It happens I was in Yaoundé. I went to find out what are their powers. What can they do? What can they offer as a solution to the people? And we all read the decree that constitutes them. They have no powers. It is a good thing for them to go and listen. I believe always that it's good to go and hear what the people have to say. But that commission does not have the power.
Is that why it has failed more than 1 year after it was created?
Of course. Of course. We said it from the beginning. That commission was never a solution to this crisis, and it still is not today.
Thank you so much, Madam KAH WALLA, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time
as well. And don't forget your black tomorrow for the population of the Northwest and the Southwest.
Yeah, members of the Stand Up for Cameroon there, bringing us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Viewers, we thank you so much for joining us, wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.